I had just stuffed the plastic bottles I'd dug out of the trash into a sack when I heard someone call out from behind me. "Auntie, I'll give you 100 yen. Spend it however you like." A fashionably dressed man hid the disgust in his eyes as he pointed his phone camera straight at me. Seeing that I still looked confused, he pulled out a bright red banknote and stuffed it into my hand. "I'm live streaming. Just take the money, buy whatever you want." I clenched the bill tightly, squinting at the screen of his phone. Finally, he's live. If I don't watch Da Chow for even a day, I feel uncomfortable all over. Da Chow helps people in need with real actions, smash that like. This auntie who picks up trash looks so pitiful. Her clothes are dirty and torn. I really hope this 100 yuan can improve her life a little. The comments scrolled past. The viewer count in the live stream room kept rising, shooting up to hundreds of thousands in the blink of an eye. I put the money into my pocket and nodded at the streamer named Da Chow. With this many witnesses, it was enough. Da Chow followed behind me, talking non-stop to the camera. "Everyone, I've been doing this 100 yuan charity activity on the streets for a year now. Being able to achieve what I have today is all thanks to your support. Don't worry. Everyone I choose to help is someone who truly has a difficult life and needs assistance. Even though 100 yuan isn't much, it really can help them. You can say I'm stingy, but my conscience is clear." Da Chow's voice was highly persuasive. Before long, the screen was flooded with gift effects. He glanced at me and continued. "This auntie looks about 60 years old. At such an age, she's still out picking up trash, living off recycling scraps. It's truly very hard. Let's see together how many useful things this 100 yuan can buy in her hands." After saying that, he quickened his pace and walked alongside me. "Auntie, where's your family? How could they let you be out picking up trash at such an age?" I replied calmly. "I don't have any family left." Da Chow sighed and shook his head. "Ah, you've really suffered. Auntie, if you need any help, just tell me. Da Chow definitely won't neglect you." I turned my head and stared at him in silence. He was frightened by my gaze and asked awkwardly, "Auntie, what's wrong?" I curled the corner of my lips and smiled faintly. "No need. You're already helping me right now. Aren't you?" We chatted idly as we walked, until I stopped at a fruit stall in the market. The stall was beneath an old building, and there wasn't a single customer in front of it. A woman about my age glanced at me, shuffled over, and asked unwillingly, "What do you want to buy?" I pointed to a bundle of sugarcane beside her. She sized me up from head to toe and said unhappily, 30 yuan a stalk. "Do you even have money?" I raised the bill in my hand and waved it. Only then did she sluggishly pick up a stalk of sugarcane and start peeling it. Comments floated past. "This auntie is really pitiful. As soon as she gets money, she wants something sweet." "Wait a second, this stall isn't right. Sugarcane costs at most 20 yuan a stalk." And she even picked the oldest stalk for her. "Streamer, hurry up and remind her." Da Chow stood beside me, looking at the screen, and said softly, "Everyone, the streamer's principle is to only give money, not speak up. So in this situation, I can't intervene." The woman walked over to the sugarcane cutter nearby. In no time, she chopped the cane into pieces, bagged it, and turned to ask me for the money. I shook my head and lifted a hand to smooth my hair, which had been blown messy by a strong gust of wind. Under her surprised gaze, I raised 2 more fingers. "Give me 2 more stalks." Joy flashed across the stall owner's face. She pulled out 2 more sugarcane stalks of very poor quality and started peeling them. The comments on the screen grew increasingly agitated. "Is this auntie senile or something? She can't even tell the cane is bad. Buying so much sugarcane, can she even finish it?" "Exactly. Other people save money to buy daily necessities. She's amazing. Blows it all in one go." Da Chow silently watched his phone, the corners of his mouth lifting continuously. Controversy brought heat. In just a moment, tens of thousands more viewers flooded into his live stream room. The stall owner worked briskly. In no time, she finished processing the remaining 2 stalks at the cutter. I stood in front of her, staring coldly. Dust on the ground, mixed with all kinds of plastic bags, swirling into the air. The stall owner subconsciously raised her hand to rub her eyes. The next second, a dry, Heavy crack rang out, and warm, fresh blood splattered all over my face. She collapsed to the ground. Her head had been smashed to pieces by a brick that fell from the upper floor. The surrounding people, after snapping out of it, all screamed in piercing voices. Da Chao's eyes went wide. He gripped his phone with both hands. The camera pointed straight at the fruit stall owner's corpse. The comments surged like a tidal wave. Holy shit! Holy shit! Someone really died. Is this real or fake? Oh my God, witnessing a death live on stream. Someone from a nearby stall called an ambulance, and the police? Soon after, sirens wailed as ambulances and police cars rushed over. The doctor got out, took one glance, and shook his head. The police surveyed the scene, took notes, dispersed the onlookers, and had the doctors cover the body with a white cloth and carry it away on a stretcher. After everything was over, Da Chao's face lit up with manic excitement. The livestream room was packed with comments, the popularity skyrocketing non-stop. He faced the camera and continued. Everyone, just now, we personally witnessed a murder right at the scene. A living, breathing life vanished before our eyes. It's truly heartbreaking. No one knows whether tomorrow or disaster will come first. But my promise to Auntie still stands. Our live stream will not stop. Now then, let's continue. Da Chao smiled at me. The disgust deep in his eyes had vanished. I continued leading him around the market. When I glanced at the screen, a few comments caught my eye. Why do I feel like that fruit stall owner was killed because of this auntie? If only she'd bought one less stalk of sugarcane. The owner would have left the cutter earlier and wouldn't have been killed by the falling brick. Many people immediately pushed back. That stall owner was a profiteer, bullying an ignorant auntie and deliberately giving her bad sugarcane. Trash like that deserved to die. Exactly. If she stayed alive, who knows how many more people she'd have cheated. I looked at those comments and sneered inwardly. These people hid behind their screens, standing on the so-called moral high ground, declaring themselves righteous while freely hurling abuse at anyone with a different opinion. Their morality, in truth, was no nobler than that of the fruit stall owner. I shot Da Chao a glance, then stopped in front of a cheap men's clothing shop. Casually, I picked up a red tie priced at 10 yuan, grabbed it with both hands, and tugged hard on it a few times, satisfied. I nodded. After paying, I handed the tie to Da Chao. Take it? This is a gift from me to you. Da Chao looked at the cheap red tie, his expression awkward. Oh my God, this auntie is so kind. I've been watching live streams for so long, this is the first time I've seen someone use that 100 yuan to buy something for the streamer. In her generation, a man in a suit with a tie is the most handsome and promising, so that's why she bought a tie for the streamer. A streamer? This is Auntie's heartfelt gesture. Just accept it. In an instant, countless gift effects flew across the screen. Da Chao glanced at the comments and accepted the tie with a smile. Thank you, Auntie. Strictly speaking, I shouldn't accept it, but I can't bear to reject your kindness, so I'll take it. I smiled as I watched him lift the tie and try it against his neck. The bright red tie looped around his neck, not too big, not too small, fitting him just right. I led Da Chao straight ahead. As we walked and looked around, we finally stopped in front of a small stall selling sunflower seeds and dried goods. The stall was run by an elderly couple. When they saw me, they greeted me warmly. I took out all the remaining 90 yuan from my pocket and gently placed it into the basin, holding the seeds. Weigh out 90 yuan's worth of pumpkin seeds for me. The woman showed a troubled expression. Miss, pumpkin seeds don't sell very well. We didn't prepare much stock. And someone bought some recently. We don't have 90 yuan's worth here. She glanced at the money and discussed it with me. How about this? Let me ride my bike home and get some for you. My place is pretty close. You'll only need to wait a little over 10 minutes. When she saw that I agreed, she told her husband to watch the stall, took the 90 yuan, and happily pedaled away on her bicycle. The man glanced at us, then went back to shaking his head slightly while wearing earphones and scrolling on his phone. Da Chao, feeling a bit bored, took the initiative to chat with me. Auntie, why are you buying so many pumpkin seeds? My daughter likes to eat them. But didn't your daughter already? She really liked them when she was still alive. Da Chao realized he had asked the wrong question. He gave a few awkward chuckles and turned to strike up a conversation with the man. The man laughed loudly, pointed at Da Chao, and said, I know this is that 100 yuan street activity you guys do. I took part in it before too. Back then, I bought a lot of things with that 100 yuan. This woman here is really wasteful, spending all her money on seeds. After speaking, he lifted his cup of tea and gulped it down in one long draught. The moment he set the cup down, the man stared straight at me, his face twisted, as if he had just seen the most horrifying thing imaginable. But Da Chao could no longer smile and looked at me with fear on his face. I lifted the bag of pumpkin seeds from the woman's electric bike, waved at him, then turned and left. The money has all been spent, so I should go now. Oh, and good luck to you. I returned to where I lived, an abandoned house. On the old, battered square table stood a memorial photo. In the black and white picture, a young girl smiled brightly, dimples at the corners of her mouth. I took a clean cloth and carefully wiped the memorial photo. Then I took out a handful of pumpkin seeds and placed them in front of it. After finishing all this, I sat on the chair and quietly closed my eyes. I didn't know how much time had passed when the sound of police sirens rang out outside. Footsteps followed, and several police officers rushed in. Xiajing, we currently suspect you are involved in 2 homicide cases. Please cooperate with the investigation. I stood up, smiled, and held out both hands. Interrogation room. I had already been sitting here for 5 or 6 hours. I knew this was a familiar police method. It could wear down a suspect's temperament and sharpness, and the unfamiliar environment made psychological changes more likely. Once treated this way, it meant I had truly attracted the attention of the police. Finally, the door of the interrogation room opened. A burly police officer sat down calmly across from me. I am Huang Wei, Xiajing, a psychology professor at a prestigious university. 1 year ago, you resigned and now make a living by picking up trash near the market. I am very curious. What made you voluntarily step down from the peak and walk into dust and mud? I smiled faintly. Everyone has their own pursuits, don't they? Huang Wei narrowed his eyes and sneered as he stared at me. That's true. I like that answer. But if this pursuit is illegal, then it's not acceptable. Today, while you were shopping, 2 people died right in front of you. Isn't that too much of a coincidence? I spread my hands helplessly. Everyone has their own fate. If the King of Hell wants to take someone, I can't interfere. Huang Wei sneered and tossed a stack of photos onto the table. Although you are currently living in an abandoned house, we found quite a few things in your former villa. The photo showed a bedroom. The walls were densely covered with photos. The people in the photos were exactly Chen Qiao, the fruit stall owner, and Li Dahai, the dried goods stall owner, who died in front of me today. The photos were taken from all angles, recording their every move. In the center of the room hung a whiteboard. Portrait photos of the 2 were pinned on it, surrounded by densely written notes recording their social relationships, activity routes, and timelines. Huang Wei raised his eyebrows. You did this, didn't you? I nodded. This was a social experiment I conducted to study the daily lives of small vendors. Is that illegal? His voice paused briefly. Then he snorted coldly. We preliminarily suspect that the deaths of these 2 are related to you. I gave a bitter smile. Officer, one of them was hit by a brick, loosened by strong winds. The other suffered an acute heart attack. Even if I was unlucky enough to be nearby, you can't say I killed them, right? Huang Wei shook his head. All of this could have involved human interference. I've already sent people to check the upper floors for signs of human tampering. And the water in the thermos is being sent for testing. If you confess honestly now, I can still try to get you leniency for turning yourself in. After saying this, he leaned back heavily in his chair and closed his eyes. I knew he was using this to apply psychological pressure. I was unmoved and leaned back in my chair as well. Time passed. The door was pushed open, and a young police officer walked in holding 2 folders. Huang Wei suddenly sprang up, a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. He took the folders and waved them in front of me. Xiajing, I'll give you one last chance, seeing that I remained indifferent. He laughed angrily, slammed the folders on the table, and quickly flipped through them. As the rustling of paper continued, Huang Wei's expression grew uglier and uglier. Finally, fine beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. He stared at me in shock, his face full of disbelief. How could there be no problems at all? Officer, since there are no problems, may I leave now? Don't worry. If you need me in the future, I will cooperate at any time. Huang Wei clenched his teeth. You're in such a hurry to leave. Is it because there's still one more person you haven't killed yet? I looked at him in surprise. Officer, I don't dare accept such a heavy accusation. If there's no solid evidence, I hope you won't convict based on speculation. Huang Wei snorted coldly and took out a photo. It was a half-body photo of Da Chao. A thick red X had been drawn across his face with a marker. This was also found in your home. If I'm not mistaken, he was your next target, wasn't he? What method were you planning to use to kill him? I sighed, rested my hands on the table, and changed into a more comfortable posture. Human prejudice is a huge mountain. Officer, this photo only proves that I dislike him. It doesn't mean I would definitely kill him. If he were to die suddenly now, would you also think I used some trick to kill him? Huang Wei opened his mouth to speak. Bang. The door of the interrogation room was forcefully pushed open. A young police officer rushed in, panting. Captain Huang, streamer Da Chao is dead. Huang Wei suddenly stood up, kicking the chair several steps away. He stared at me and roared. How did Da Chao die? The young officer's face was pale, fear obvious in his eyes. During a live stream, right in front of hundreds of thousands of viewers, he hanged himself with a red tie. I glanced at Da Chao and stopped in front of the entrance of a cheap men's clothing store. I casually picked up a red tie priced at 10 yuan, grabbed it with both hands and tugged it hard a few times, then nodded in satisfaction. After paying, I handed the red tie to Da Chao. Take it? This is a gift from me to you. Da Chao looked at the cheap red tie, his expression somewhat awkward. Oh my God, this auntie is really too kind. I've been watching live streams for so long. This is the first time I've ever seen someone use that 100 yuan to buy something for the streamer. In the mindset of her generation, a man wearing a suit and a tie is the most handsome and promising. That's why she bought a tie for the streamer. Streamer? This is auntie's heartfelt intention. Just accept it. In an instant, countless gift effects flew across the screen. Da Chao glanced at the comments and accepted the tie with a smile. Thank you, auntie. Logically speaking, I shouldn't accept it. But I really can't bear to disappoint your kindness, so I'll accept it. I smiled as I watched him lift the tie and try it around his neck. The bright red tie wrapped around his neck, neither too big nor too small, fitting perfectly. I led Da Chao straight ahead. We walked while looking around, and finally stopped in front of a small stall selling sunflower seeds and dried goods. The stall owner was an elderly couple. When they saw me coming, they warmly greeted me. I took out all the remaining 90 yuan from my pocket and gently placed it into the basin, holding the sunflower seeds. Weigh out 90 yuan worth of pumpkin seeds for me. The woman showed a troubled expression. Miss, pumpkin seeds don't sell very well. We didn't prepare much stock. And recently someone bought some already. There isn't 90 yuan worth here. She glanced at the money and discussed it with me. How about this? I'll ride my bike home and get more for you. My home is quite close. You just need to wait a little over 10 minutes. Seeing that I agreed, she told her husband to watch the stall, took the 90 yuan, and happily rode off on her bicycle. The man glanced at us, then continued wearing his earphones, shaking his head slightly while scrolling on his phone. Da Chao felt a bit bored, and Judong started talking to me. Auntie, why are you buying so many pumpkin seeds? My daughter likes to eat them, but didn't your daughter already? She really liked them when she was still alive. Da Chao realized he had asked the wrong thing, gave a few awkward laughs, and turned to talk to the man. The man laughed loudly, pointed at Da Chao, and said, I know, this is that 100 yuan street activity you guys do. I participated before too. Back then, I bought a lot of things with that 100 yuan. This woman is really wasteful, spending all her money on buying sunflower seeds. After saying that, he picked up his cup of tea and gulped it down in one long breath. At the moment he put the cup down, the man stared straight at me, his face twisted, as if he had seen the most terrifying thing imaginable. Seeing that I remained silent, he continued speaking. I think that after you called him, you first revealed your identity. Next, you told Hu Xiao that Chen Qiao and Li Dehai did not die in accidents, but were killed by you. If he did not do as you said, you would use the same method to kill his son. Hu Xiao personally witnessed 2 living people die right in front of him today. He was already scared out of his wits. For his son, he had no choice but to obey you and commit suicide in front of tens of thousands of people using the red tie you gave him. Professor Xiajin, am I right? I smiled faintly and regained my original composure. Captain Huang, your imagination is excellent. You'd be very suitable for writing novels, but if you want to convict me, you still need real evidence, don't you? Huang Wei withdrew his smile and looked at me seriously. Xiajin, you're really lucky. Every murder method you set up succeeded. But in the end, heaven still didn't stand on your side. He opened his phone and played a video. The moment I saw the video screen, my entire body began to tremble violently. The footage was taken on a rooftop. The screen was dim, the sky faintly white with early morning light. The recording time was in the morning. A figure walked to the edge of the rooftop and, wearing gloves, gently pushed a brick with one hand. On the screen, it could be seen very clearly the person was me. Seeing my horrified expression, Huang Wei took out a pair of handcuffs from his pocket. I know you must have investigated beforehand. There were no surveillance cameras on the rooftop. But just a few days before you committed the crime, a resident's clothes that were hung out to dry, they were frequently stolen. He was furious, so he bought a disguised camera and installed it there, hoping to catch the clothes thief. In the end, he didn't record the thief, but instead recorded a murderer. Huang Wei opened the handcuffs and slowly walked toward me. Professor Xiajin, please come with me. I collapsed weakly against the sofa and slowly closed my eyes. In the interrogation room, a police officer put away the notebook in his hands and nodded at Huang Wei with admiration. Just now, I had honestly confessed my motive for the crime and the entire process of committing it. What I said was almost completely identical to Huang Wei's deductions. After the officer left, Huang Wei let out a long sigh and slowly sat down across from me. As a father with a daughter, I understand your feelings very well, but the law is merciless. Based on your confession, the likelihood of a death sentence is very high. I smiled with relief. Captain Huang, having conscientious and responsible police officers like you is the people's good fortune. My husband passed away very early. My daughter was everything to me. Every day after she died, I thought about following her. It was the raging fire of hatred that gave me the strength to hold on until now. Now that my revenge has been fulfilled, there's nothing left in this world for me to cling to. I think it's time to go meet my daughter. Huang Wei looked at me with regret, then slowly pushed the door open and walked out. I was detained for 5 days. During that time, Huang Wei came to see me. He said the case had a huge impact and would be handled through an expedited process. By the end of today, I would go to court to face sentencing. Moreover, due to the extremely serious nature of the case, my death sentence was practically set in stone. Seeing my appearance of longing for death, he could only shake his head and sigh. Time passed second by second, and soon it was night. Suddenly, a series of hurried footsteps rapidly approached. Huang Wei, panting heavily, rushed in. His face was full of shock and doubt, his eyes fixed on me as if trying to see through me. Xiajin, the killer wasn't you, was it? I slowly raised my head and looked straight into his eyes. Captain Huang, are you joking with me? Tomorrow is the court hearing, and now you're saying the killer wasn't me? Huang Wei's gaze was extremely firm. These past few days, I've always felt something was wrong, like I'd overlooked something very important. This feeling kept clinging to me, even making it impossible to sleep peacefully. In my 10 years as a police officer, I've always trusted my intuition, so I went back to your house again after a thorough search. I finally found something. This thing was like a torch, instantly dispersing all the fog in my heart. As he finished speaking, he took something out of his pocket and held it straight in front of me. It was a photograph. In the photo, Shamu was holding my left arm, smiling and making a V sign. A young man stood on my right, smiling at the camera. I found this photo inside a psychology book on the bedside table in your bedroom. Who is the man in the photo? I frowned, my expression full of disgust. He's my daughter's ex-boyfriend. His name is Shu Di. This photo is still here. Looks like I forgot to throw it away. Huang Wei put the photo away and looked at me with a half smile. From your tone, it seems you really hate this Shu Di. I snorted coldly, my voice icy. When Xiaomo was being cyberbullied, he hurriedly broke up with her. He didn't even attend Xiaomo's funeral. Truly a heartless man. Huang Wei nodded thoughtfully. So that's how it is. Then this man's character really isn't very good. Oh, right. Could you recount the process of your crime one more time? His sudden change of topic startled me slightly. However, under Huang Wei's persistence, I still recounted it once again. Huang Wei leaned against the wall, rhythmically tapping the wall with his index finger, unable to see the true face of Mount Lu, simply because one is in the mountain. Now that new information has emerged, looking back at your confession, it's full of holes everywhere. He chuckled self-mockingly and slowly raised one finger in front of me. First, a brick blown down by the wind killing someone involves too much randomness. That day the wind was strong. The timing of the brick falling was completely uncontrollable. You couldn't guarantee it would hit Chen Chao's head precisely when you went to buy sugarcane. Second, my deduction regarding Li Dahai's death wasn't solid either. Even though you are Xiaomo's mother and resemble her, the age gap is still there. You are fundamentally different from a young, vibrant Xiaomo. Unless Xiaomo herself appeared in front of Li Dahai, he would never be scared into a heart attack just by seeing you. Third, it's impossible to force Hu Xiao into suicide with just a threatening phone call. The fact that Hu Xiao hired people to frame Xiaomo shows he was not a timid person. Even if he knew you intended to kill his son, he could have taken his son and fled. As a top streamer, Hu Xiao was already financially independent. If he couldn't provoke you, couldn't he at least run? Captain Huang, stop beating around the bush. Just say what you want to say. Huang Wei did not answer directly and continued. If there was a third person involved in this case, then all these loopholes would be perfectly filled. The brick falling due to wind is hard to control. But what if someone else pushed it? Someone could hide behind the rooftop wall. After hearing your voice, he could gently push it with his hand or something else. The brick would then fall at the exact desired moment. He wouldn't need to poke his head out. No one would discover someone hiding upstairs. As for Li Dahai, what he saw might have been you, but also could have been someone behind you. According to my investigation, your daughter's boyfriend, Shu Di, is a highly skilled makeup artist. Makeup, in ancient times, was also called the art of disguise. A talented makeup artist can turn one person into someone completely different. Shu Di only needed to find a woman who somewhat resembled Xiaomo and could perfectly disguise her as Xiaomo. She only needed to stare silently at Li Dahai from a distance to scare him out of his wits. To verify this deduction, I carefully reviewed the surveillance footage near Li Dahai's stall. In the end, I indeed saw a woman who looked very much like Xiaomo flash across the camera. While speaking, Huang Wei's eyes never left my face, missing not even the slightest change in expression. Finally, there's Hu Xiao's death. If someone truly wanted to force him to commit suicide, I can only think of one possibility. During the voice call, Hu Xiao heard his son's voice. He knew that if he didn't comply, you would definitely kill his son. He didn't dare call the police, didn't dare gamble, so he could only choose suicide to protect his son. I suddenly spoke, interrupting him. Captain Huang, you truly calculate everything like a god. I did contact Hu Xiao's son and controlled the boy to make sounds during the call. Only then would Hu Xiao willingly go to his death. Although I dislike Shu Di, I wouldn't let him take the blame for me. These things were indeed all done by me alone. Huang Wei pointed at me and suddenly raised his voice. Xiajin, how long are you going to keep covering for him? I already checked when Hu Xiao received the call. His wife was taking their son to an amusement park in the north of the city. At that time, you were still at the abandoned building in the south of the city. You had absolutely no way to contact his son, so the real murderer wasn't you. Xiajin, There is still someone hiding in your shadow, completely concealed. That person is Shu Di. Everything you just described was done by him. I clenched my teeth and forced out a smile. Captain Huang, think carefully. Shu Di didn't even attend my daughter's funeral. How could such a heartless person help me seek revenge? Huang Wei seemed to have anticipated this response. Professor Xiajin, judging from the wear marks on the psychology book on your bedside table, you must read it often. If you hate Shu Di so much, why did you keep a photo of him inside a book you read before sleeping? I don't believe you and your daughter didn't have a photo of just the two of you. I was momentarily speechless. Huang Wei slowly stepped closer, his tone oppressive. The reason Shu Di didn't attend Xiaomo's funeral was because you had already begun preparing this revenge plan a year ago. You were determined to seek revenge, disregarding life and death. But you couldn't complete it alone. Shu Di joined the plan, helping you from the shadows, and you tried to take all the blame yourself, unwilling to implicate him. So Shu Di deliberately pretended to be cold and selfish to avoid suspicion. I couldn't help retreating, fine beads of sweat forming on my forehead. Then go arrest him. I don't have any affection for him anyway. A cold-blooded person like that being sentenced to death would be even better. Huang Wei stopped and looked at me coldly. Xiajin, you don't need to provoke me with reverse psychology. Once I present a deduction, I will definitely have corresponding evidence. He took out his phone and played a video. On the screen, a man was looking around nervously. At a glance, I recognized him. It was Shu Di. This is surveillance footage from the amusement park. Shu Di happened to appear at the same amusement park where Hu Xiao's son was. That's hardly a coincidence, is it? Moreover, that day, Hu Xiao's wife's phone was lost, preventing her from receiving Hu Xiao's call. Hu Xiao's son told me that when his mother went to the restroom, an uncle wearing a hat told him to listen to his dad's phone call. While listening, the man pinched him, causing him to cry. After that, the man took the phone and left. I showed him Shu Di's photo. He recognized it instantly. The man who forced Hu Xiao's son to listen to the call and even pinched him until he cried. Xiajin, at this point, what else do you have to say? I looked at him with hollow eyes, my voice filled with despair. Why? Why must you insist on uncovering the truth? Someone has already confessed. Isn't that enough? Huang Wei looked at me with pity and sighed. What I need isn't someone confessing. I must uncover the truth to be worthy of this uniform. Tell me, where is Shu Di now? Seeing me lower my head in silence, Huang Wei shook his head helplessly. Xiajin, this is the last chance I'm giving you. If you won't say it, I can still guess. The day Chen Chao died, I asked the residents nearby. They said they didn't see any strangers. In other words, to them, Shu Di wasn't a stranger. So Shu Di is inside that building. And since you've already been arrested, Shuti wouldn't rush to flee. The most dangerous place is the safest place. Shu Di is very likely still there. Before coming to see you, I already sent plainclothes officers to arrest him. Once we catch Shu Di, I'll naturally have ways to make him confess. Before he could finish, hurried footsteps sounded outside. A police officer hadn't even arrived yet when his anxious voice rang out. Captain Huang, during the arrest, Shu Di used a rope to escape through a window. The rope snapped. He fell from a height and died on the spot. Huang Wei's eyes looked like they were about to split apart. He shot me a fierce glance and rushed out. The next day, the trial was postponed. A few days later, I finally saw Huang Wei again. He looked haggard, the dark circles under his eyes even deeper. He spoke to me at length. After Shu Di died, his phone was shattered. After technical recovery, the police discovered all the WeChat conversations between Shu Di and me over the past year. Shu Di had always deeply loved Xiaomo. After her death, he thought of taking revenge for her. The entire series of plans was orchestrated by Shu Di behind the scenes. I resigned, became a trash collector, and willingly became part of his plan. He once said that while Xiaomo was alive, she wanted to become an internet celebrity and use her influence to help more people. So he had to kill the 3 people who caused Xiaomo's death in front of hundreds of thousands of viewers. Because I longed for death, I appeared on the surface of the plan, actively taking on all the blame. In the end, our plan was extremely successful. But unexpectedly, We encountered a sharp police officer like Huang Wei, who uncovered the truth based on just one photograph. After finishing, Huang Wei patted my shoulder. He said I was an accomplice, and the sentence wouldn't be heavy. A month later, the trial began. I thought I would be sentenced to 3 years for aiding murder. At last, the matter came to a close. Because of my age and good behavior in prison, after several sentence reductions, I was released after 1 year. Not long after my release, it was Qingming Festival. When I went to the cemetery to visit my daughter's grave, I encountered Huang Wei, who had just finished sweeping graves and was coming down the mountain. He looked at me, his eyes filled with mixed emotions. Seeing me going up the mountain alone, he probed, "What are your plans now? Have you thought about the days ahead?" Noticing his vigilance, I smiled. "Captain Huang, don't worry. I won't try to kill myself on the mountain. The days ahead are still long. I need to live on for my daughter as well." Huang Wei nodded, but his eyes kept scanning the basket I was carrying. I knew he was checking whether there was anything inside that could be used for suicide. We exchanged a few polite words and said goodbye. After walking a few steps, Huang Wei's voice suddenly came from behind. "Xiajin, it seems you only brought offerings for one person. You're not planning to visit Shu Di's grave?" I didn't turn around. I'm old now. My memory isn't good either. If you hadn't mentioned it, I really would have forgotten little Shu. It's fine. I'll make it up to him next time. Hearing this, Huang Wei's voice began to tremble, carrying fear and regret. "Xiajin, wait. There's still something I want to ask you." I turned back and gave him a standard smile. "Everything is over, isn't it? Captain Huang, just let me keep going up. After all, people must look forward. How can one keep looking back forever?" After saying that, I didn't turn back and walked toward the mountain, all the way to the summit. I looked down. Huang Wei's figure was still standing there, unmoving. "My name is Xiajin. I am a psychology professor at a prestigious university. Every one of my classes is packed. Many students even stand outside the door to listen. Every time I start a lecture, I always say one sentence. Your subconscious is controlling your life, and you call it fate. I believe that if external suggestions are used to influence a person's subconscious, one can change their cognition and even their fate. I just never expected that in the end. I would use the knowledge I had studied for so many years to commit crimes. Someone once said, if you want a person to believe you, you must make them discover for themselves what you want them to discover. So I devised a small diversion for Huang Wei. I constantly claimed to hate Shu Di. Yet let Huang Wei discover the photo tucked inside the psychology book I often read before sleep. If you truly hate someone, how could you keep their photo in a book you read every night? Thus, Huang Wei firmly believed one thing. Not only did I not hate Shu Di, I actually had a very close relationship with him. That way, he would steadfastly believe that Shu Di was my accomplice, the real murderer hiding behind me. But relying on these things alone was still not enough. Huang Wei was very intelligent. If I wanted to make him believe in the truth I had constructed, I needed even more suggestion. The second point was that I made use of Shu Di's profession. I found a woman who looked similar to Xiaomo, had her wear clothes that Xiaomo usually wore, styled her hair exactly the same, and then had her walk past the surveillance camera near Li Dehai's stall. I wanted to make Huang Wei believe that after Li Dehai saw this fake Xiaomo, he was frightened into falling ill. After learning that Shu Di was a senior professional makeup artist, he would certainly associate this incident with Shu Di lurking behind the scenes. But was Li Dehai really frightened into illness by the woman who resembled Xiaomu? He betrayed his conscience for money and framed someone who had once helped him. How could such a heartless villain be frightened by one of his victims? If Huang Wei investigated Li Dehai in depth, he would discover that although Li Dehai was vicious, he was extremely devoted to love. He loved his wife very much. Li Dehai usually liked watching short videos. On that day, after his wife left, I sent a video to Li Dehai's account. In the video was a fabricated news report saying that a woman wearing blue clothes had been hit to death by a large truck near the market. The woman's name was Liu Fen. Li Dehai's wife was also named Liu Fen, and she was also wearing blue clothes that day. After hearing this news, he fell ill and collapsed to the ground. Afterward, He continuously called out for his wife, not because the medicine was on his wife, but because he wanted to confirm whether his wife had really encountered an accident. I misled Huang Wei in many matters, but there was one thing I said that was true. I hated Shu Di. I hated him even more than Hu Xiao, because the main reason my daughter Xiaomo committed suicide was Shu Di. You must understand that at the time, my daughter relied on the 100 yuan street activity and donations from enthusiastic anonymous viewers to help quite a few poor people at the very bottom of society, and even changed the fate of some of them on the internet. Many people trusted and supported her. Relying solely on the 2 accusation videos from Chen Qiao and Li Dehai was not enough to subject Xiaomo to such intense and violent cyberbullying. She was collecting evidence, trying to clarify the truth, and slowly making the situation improve. But at this very moment, she was stabbed in the back by the person closest to her. Shu Dai accepted money from Hu Xiao and secretly altered Xiaomo's account data, turning the matter of her allegedly embezzling audience donations into ironclad evidence. The images were leaked, and those who had originally supported Xiaomo immediately felt deceived and began attacking and abusing her with even more extreme behavior. After the incident occurred, Xiaomo immediately guessed that Shu Di had betrayed her. Pressure from the outside world and the betrayal of her lover caused her to finally collapse and commit suicide. In fact, my daughter Xiaomo was very optimistic. When she was little, if she fell down, she would first stand up by herself and then comfort me. "Mom, I'm fine. Don't worry about me." When she was in college, she was in a car accident. When I went to see her, her whole body was wrapped in bandages as she lay on the hospital bed. When Xiaomo saw me crying, she smiled and wiped my tears. "Mom, don't worry. My life is tough. I won't die." But this time, she could no longer comfort me. If it weren't for Shu Di, my daughter would not have died. I wanted revenge, and Shu Dai was my primary target. But my daughter and I once made a promise. Whoever died first, the one left behind, must help the other see the world they had never seen. We even wrote a list, filled with places we both wanted to go but had never been to. I just never expected that my daughter would leave before me, so I could not die. And even more so, I could not die after taking revenge. Thus, I spent an entire year nurturing a perfect revenge plan. First, I ignored my superior's obstruction and resigned from my position at the university. I changed into ragged clothes, moved into a dangerous abandoned building, and turned myself into an old woman who collected trash. Next, I used another phone to register a new WeChat account. The profile picture, display name, and background image of this WeChat account were all exactly the same as Shu Di's. Every few days, I would talk to this fake Shu Di. I talked about our plan, talked about how much he loved Xiaomo, talked about the hatred he had for Hu Xiao and the other 3. Most of all, I talked about how I should take the blame for him and how he could escape safely. I did this continuously for a whole year. After that, just as Huang Wei discovered, I followed and filmed every move of Chen Qiao and Li Dehai, watching them use Hu Xiao's money to buy stalls and start small businesses. Their lives got better and better. Their complexions grew more and more rosy, while my daughter slowly decayed beneath the dark earth. It was terribly unfair. After more than half a year, their lives stabilized even further, setting up stalls and packing up stalls every day. Their activity patterns became a fixed straight line. I knew that the day of my revenge was drawing closer and closer. A few days before I decided to act, I deliberately went up to the rooftop to steal clothes from a household. After 3 consecutive days, in a corner that was not easy to notice, I discovered a surveillance camera. After confirming that I would definitely be recorded, I walked to the edge of the railing and gently shook a brick with my hand. This was the evidence I left for Huang Wei. I had investigated beforehand. He was the police officer in charge of this area. He was upright, perceptive, and had solved many major cases. I believed that he would definitely suspect me. Sure enough, Huang Wei arrested me and brought me into the interrogation room that very night. He took out the video that I deliberately allowed to be recorded and used it to convict me. But I knew that he would definitely discover the photograph I left behind. He would definitely know that relying on me alone, it was impossible to complete 3 cases. and he would definitely shift his gaze toward Shu Di. Everything I did was precisely to make his subconscious doubt Shu Di. Being able to reach this step meant that my plan was already more than halfway complete. I had already investigated clearly the reason Shu Di betrayed Xiaomu. He was addicted to gambling and needed a large amount of money to repay his debts. On the day Xiaomu jumped off the building and committed suicide, he was still in the casino with bloodshot eyes placing bets. Human nature's ugliness is very hard to change. Very soon, Shu Di not only lost all the money Hu Xiao had given him, but also became buried in debt. At this time, a person named Wang Jiu approached him and addressed him as brother. Wang Jiu knew that he had nowhere to live, and generously let Shu Di stay in his vacant house. That building was located right behind Chen Chao's fruit stall. That night, Wang Jiu contacted Shu Di. He said that a loan shark boss was willing to lend him money to start over in life, and arranged to meet him at the amusement park in the north of the city. While Shu Di was searching everywhere for this boss, Wang Jiu stole Hu Xiao's wife's phone, stood next to Hu Xiao's son, and used my secondary WeChat account to call Hu Xiao. He wore a hat, and the lower half of his face resembled Shu Di by 5 or 6 parts. Thus, relying only on Hu Xiao's son's identification and the surveillance footage capturing Shu Di, Huang Wei completely convicted him. Wang Jiu had once told Shu Di that he himself carried a pile of debt and always had to be wary of creditors causing trouble. There was a safety rope in his house. If someone came, he could use it to escape downstairs. At that time, he must remember not to bring his phone, otherwise they would track the signal and find him. Shu Di remembered this advice. When plainclothes police arrived, he used the rope to prepare to slide down from the 7th floor. The rope had been tampered with in advance and snapped. Shu Di fell and turned into a pool of mangled flesh. Wang Jiu, who had been waiting for a long time, threw down the phone containing the Shu Di WeChat account that I had created. It landed right beside Shu Di's corpse. Once the police restored the data, they would see the 1-year chat history between me and Shu Di that I had fabricated. At that point, everything would reverse. Shu Di would become the principal offender, and I would become a negligible accomplice. In one of the videos Xiaomo once filmed, the main character was a young man. That young man was a little over 20, rummaging through expired bread in a trash bin. After being selected to participate in the activity, he casually ate a meal with the 100 yuan, then used all the remaining money to buy scratch lottery tickets. The comment section was full of curses, calling him a money-hungry gambler beyond saving. They said giving him 100 yuan was a waste. Better to give it to someone more in need. But Xiaomo added him on WeChat, hoping she could help pull this young man out of the abyss. After the young man got Xiaomo's WeChat, he became even more excessive. He frequently borrowed money from Xiaomo, saying he was encountering difficulties. I told Xiaomo not to lend him money. A money-hungry gambler like that never speaks a single truthful word, and the money would certainly all be taken to gamble. One night, the young man called Xiaomo, his voice mixed with sobbing. "Sister, actually I lied to you about everything? I took all your money to gamble." Xiaomo replied to him like this, "I know, but what I'm more afraid of is that you truly encounter difficulties. You can tell me this truth, and that makes me very happy. If you're willing to quit gambling, I will do everything I can to help you." From that day on, that young man never gambled again. That young man's name was Wang Jiu. He was the one truly pulling the strings behind me, the Shu Di in the story deduced by Huang Wei. He was also the only person in this world, other than me, who cared about Xiaomo. On the mountaintop, in front of Xiaomo's tombstone, offerings and fresh flowers had already been arranged. The weeds around it had also been cleared away. Wang Jiu took the basket from my hands and revealed a simple, honest smile. After finishing the tomb sweeping, we stood there silently, looking at Xiaomo's tombstone without speaking. After a long while, Wang Jiu spoke. "Auntie, after going down the mountain, I will turn myself in." After saying this, he bent over and coughed a few times. "Back when I was wandering the streets, my body was damaged. The doctor said I don't have much time left. The reason I didn't tell you was because I was afraid you would worry. Now that everything is over, I can finally leave with peace of mind." Seeing the worried look in my eyes, Wang Zhou immediately waved his hand casually. In the past, when I was hiding from debt, sneaking around everywhere, I was like a sewer rat. Only after meeting Sister Mo did I feel sunlight again, and feel what it's like to live as a human being under the sun. For the final stretch of my life, I also want to live it in a dignified way. After speaking, Wang Zhou bowed deeply to me. He took one last long look at Xiaomo's tombstone, then turned around and walked down the mountain. I quietly watched his back follow the winding downhill path, growing smaller and smaller until it merged together with Huang Wei.